grab my gear, load the truck. Heading out, don't give a truck. Rifles locked, boots tied tight. Gonna catch that deer all through the night. Hunting in the highland hill, chasing dreams and catching thrills. The wind is howling, the game is near. In the woods, our favorite place, my dear. Hunting in the highland hill.
We'll sort of talk about setting up your ballistic calculator on your Arken optics. First of all, we need to go into the menu. Oh, that's not the menu. The menu, that'll bring up that screen. Then we need, if I can get focus, go along to the ballistic calculator and make sure you have set it can't really see it very well, but you have set it to table, not real-time ballistic calculations. Right. Then we come along to your Bluetooth. And make sure that is turned on. Then we come out of that, back to that main screen. Right, we're going to work. So while you're on Bluetooth here, you make sure that you're functioning on here. What we need to do is come to our Arken Optics ballistic calculator. So that's this one here. Now I have pretty much set up the Bluetooth already. We would go up to here, make sure it's Bluetooth is connected, and you would set up and you would look for and it's already done it through the app anyway, so it's not shown as a Bluetooth connection on my phone. The app pretty much controls the whole Bluetooth side of things, but as long as this is blue and it's told me that it is ballistic, it's changed. Now this is the main screen here. We have that's your distance. You can change that back and forward. That's your distance, and you would use this with a day scope as well as the Zulus. But before you can use any of this, you have to set up what your ballistics is and what everything is. So we go to this section here and we click it, and this will bring up, so you've picked a rifle. On this case I picked 223, the twist rate, so we'd work out what the twist rate is here, which is a 12 twist, 1 in 12 twist. I've zeroed at 100 yards. Technically I've zeroed this at 100 meters, but 109 yards would be what is zero. I've just left it as 100 yards. It's about 1.5 inches from the center of the barrel to the center of the scope. This gives you, this is your elevation and windage. Pretty much you use this for any scope, so it's pretty much set up as standard. You can change all these depending on your, if you want to do proper long range stuff out to 1,000 yards, you would have to be a lot more picky on what you put here. Because I know some air rifle guys, you don't understand this, but you will be 2 to 3 inches, or 2 inches at least, above your barrel. And you guys are expecting to shoot out to 60, 70 yards with your air rifle, and you're probably not as accurate as what you think. But for the 223 or for centre fire, it's usually, if on a Picatinny rail, it's usually about 1.5 inches above. With your normal day scopes, again, you could be lower or higher, depending on what your setup is on your rail or whatever mounts that you've got. But we're talking about the Arken Zulus just now. So from centre of barrel to centre of scope, it's about 1.5 inches. So we come down. This is your mags. Now it's a second focal plane scope, the Zulus, so we just leave that there. The one thing I would have liked to have seen on this is different profiles for different scopes. For instance, if it was one of the Zuluses, I would have preferred to have a different reticle setup to that than the say a day scope, one of the Arken day scopes. There's quite a few, so you could change these fields easy enough, so we just go like that. We'll come back out of that, we'll go back in, just so that I could, because I don't want to actually change any of this at the minute. So we could change this. So my bullet length for the Spear 50 grain TNT is 0.68. Caliber is a bullet caliber size. So although it's a 223, it takes a 224 bullet. As many of you know that a 223 is used. They all use all the 22 centre fire ones. Tend to use the 224. So you put in that there. It's a 50 grain bullet, so it's 50.00000, 50 grain bullet. The ballistic coefficient of that bullet is 0.228, and the speed, now I'm going to explain these two in a second, and the speed is 3,150 feet per second. Now that's perfect. That is genuinely what that's my setup for that bullet. Now, to get this number, you will need to run your rifle through, whether it's an air rifle or whether it's a centre fire. You will need to run your rifle through a chronograph. You cannot go on what the box says or what the manual says that you should be shooting, because there's a high chance you won't be. All rifles are slightly different. Now, I could put the same bullet into another rifle, the exact same, and that might give me 3,200 FPS or 3,000 FPS. So you have to be very, very sure in regards to what your velocity is off your own rifle. So you need to get your rifle through a chrono to set this up properly. I'm not going to stress that enough, because I have had guys who, with 270s and 308s and that, who have thought that they were shooting at 2,910 FPS because that's what they were told on the paperwork should be and then when I've chronoed it through, they're barely making legal at 2480 or 2500 FPS. So just bear in mind that number is important for your specific rifle. This number here, your ballistic coefficient of the bullet, technically can change depending on your distance, because the distance of the bullet will, but the standard of the full jacketed or full weight bullet, as before it gets fired, you need to get that off your manufacturer. So for instance, I went to Spear and they said that 0.228 is the ballistic coefficient of that bullet. Now, if I was to look at my 6.5 Creedmoor, for instance, that is a 0.598 ballistic coefficient for the bullet I use on that. The higher the coefficient, the ballistic coefficient, or the BC, the better it is in wind and distance and holding drag through the air. So again, you'd have to get this data from the manufacturer. It's not always on the box of bullets. This data is standard. You should know what weight of bullet anyway, and that's your caliber. Now, just bearing in mind that some calibers, like the 6.5 Creedmoor and that, they'll be looking for it in inches. So it's a 264 instead of a 224. So you wouldn't put 6.5 millimeter down there. You would put 0.264, for instance. And there's other calibers that are set like that, mainly like the 6 millimeters, like the 6 millimeter BR or 6 millimeter Creedmoor or 6.5 PRC. Their calibers are set in mils. What you would need to do is convert that mils into inches. So when we've done that, we click save. Now we go to your ballistic calculator, which is down here, and then this icon here sends all that information to the scope. So we see this icon here, that sends all that information to the scope. Now I've already set it all up, so but we can do that again. So we just click that, and as you see, it is sending all that information to the scope. Don't know if you can see that. It's hard to see. It will tell you on the scope. So that is it sent. Then we come back. Now if you're using a day scope, you can use this bit. It will actually show your reticle. So say I want to shoot to 500 yards. So we take it to 500 yards. We calculate. It will tell us what it is. Then we go to reticle, and that will show you where our bullet is. Just there. Sorry, it's just because there's other icons up on my screen for using the pen and everything. It's just been so. So if we take this, so my drop, say at 300 yards. We'll just do that. That's 302 yards. Calculate that. It's a 1.2 MOA. 4.2 MOA. And there's my drop there. So that's if you want to manually work out your drop. We can change the wind direction. Let's just set it back to 0. You You can change the humidity, temperature, and this will all affect all the data that's on here. You can coincide this along with your Kestrel, but it doesn't actually work with your Kestrel. You can't just link it, like which is be handy, because usually I prefer the real-time information that comes from the Kestrel to what is on the app. So I usually just set these values at 0. There's your ballistic table. This is what gets transferred to your scope. This is what gets transferred to your scope. So as you see here, I've just disconnected the rifle scope to save battery. So you see at 500 yards, 63 inches, 12.04 MOA, and that gives you your various bits, MRADs, clicks, 35 clicks. Now this would be if you were using a rifle with a ballistic turret, a day scope with a ballistic turret, you'll be able to work all these out. But with the Arken Zulus, you don't need to worry about all that. That just gets transferred through to the memory of the Arken Zulus, and that'll give you your bullet drops. But anyway, there you go. That is how to set up the ballistic calculator. Trying to get your support there. So we'll go for the middle target. Just hold and left. Just because of the wind. Can't see where it's at. We'll have a look in a second. So, I'm not too bad, I'm not too unhappy about that actually. The wind has been horrendous, it is horrendous. So I was aiming here, over here, and the wind was dragging that bullet to there and there. Now my elevation is fine, so the bullet drop calculator is working, the ballistic calculator is working. I was aiming there, and I was getting here and here. Still on paper, I would have happily, at 177 yards, I would happily take a shot at that. Even that distance, I would have been a full body shot on a Foxer. But so we're talking like 3 inches away, but the actual drift is good 4 inches, 4.5 inches. I'll measure it when I get back, but that's how bad the wind is. 20 mile per hour, going from left to right, sorry, right to left, 20 mile per hour going right to left. As I said, aiming there, got there with the second shot, got there with the first shot, and the elevation is fine, ballistic calculator is working fine, it's just the wind is just causing a bit of trouble. I'm going to take it back to 100 metres and we will check it on that target down there, and then that will be us.